For more on the changes to college athletics, want to bring in two guys that know it incredibly well. We'll start with Tyvis Powell. He is on T-Bone and Tyvis, and then Jeremy Birmingham, better known as Berm on the Austin and Berm Show. Tyvis, I'll start with you, and let's just get initial reactions here when you first finally saw the House settlement has come to a close, and starting July 1st, college athletes are getting paid.
Well, obviously it was something that's been talked about for many, many years. We knew that it was coming, but now to see it officially done, I'm just happy for all those athletes that's finally going to, receive some money from the universities, and all of those guys that's getting the back pay from 2016. I salute them, even though I'm jealous that I'm not a part of it. I'm happy that college football or in college sports is all starting to get paid what they're worth.
Berm, you cover recruiting. How is this going to change the landscape of college recruiting? And maybe how have you already seen just in the last couple hours it change?
I mean, it's going to change it considerably. One primary way is that there's going to be at least some framework for schools to be working within that should be level across no matter which program you're rooting for. We'll see how that plays out. As in most instances of change, it leads to another line of questioning that's going to happen for it. Now we got to figure out who's going to be enforcing these new rules, how the actual salary cap, as it's going to be essentially broken down and is going to be enforced, and exactly how stringent is that? Is that 20.4 or whatever it is $1 million the actual amount, or is there going to be an opportunity for schools to still go above that? Because if that's really what it comes down to, and now we see a strict regulated cap across the sport, it is going to put a much greater onus on the evaluation, the coaches in the programs to really be getting the most of their players, because Ohio State, for one, is just going to have to be much more considerate about how they recruit, because you're not going to be able to go out and bring in 15, 16 5-star type athletes every year, because you're just not going to be able to pay them all. So it should be a really good thing for the parity of college football, but I don't know that Ohio State fans ultimately are going to be thrilled about that, because the Buckeyes have had an advantage for a long time. And if this regulation means that everyone's playing field really does level out, it's going to make for some interesting conversations down the road.
Well, Tyvis, you just heard Berm there. I'll lead that to you. Does it worry you with Ohio State, or do you think the name and the development behind the program keeps Ohio State at the forefront of college athletics?
Honestly, I think Berm hit it spot on with what he's saying. You do have to be more strategic on who you get, what 5 stars you get. But you know what? I'm not worried about Ohio State, because what is our mantra? Developed here. Now is the time to make sure that coaching staff is right, because there's going to be, if you're not going to be able to pay a bunch of 5-star guys to fit under a cap, now those 3-star guys that you, like myself, that you can get, that you see potential in, that you don't necessarily have to pay top dollar for. Now the development from the coaches come in, and Coach Mick being able to change their bodies, and some of those position coaches getting with them and up in their game. That's where the true value is going to be. Now, finding those 3 stars and maybe even those 4 stars, but the 5 stars, you can only get a couple of those because of that salary cap. So it's going to be very interesting, but I'm very confident. Me being a product of the Ohio State, I'm very confident that they'll find a way to develop those guys.
Berm, let me ask you this when it comes to recruiting, if this is just too much of being an optimist, but is there a world where Ohio State can continue to recruit at this level by selling guys simply on Ohio State and what it can offer? Or at the end of the day, are you going to be competing with so many people that the money just isn't going to pan out, and they're not going to be able, as you say, to have so many 5 stars?
In most cases, things like this find a way to resolve itself. If the Buckeyes continue to win, if the Buckeyes continue to develop players for the NFL and continue to get players drafted at a clip higher than anybody else in college football, then players eventually will go there. That's the way people ultimately will work. In the meantime, when you're starting to see the deals leveling out across college football, I think you will see the cream rise to the top, but it might take a couple of years to figure out which of these coaching staffs are really elite at developing, or really elite at evaluating. Because you're going to have to stay in Ohio. You're going to have to recruit kids more locally. Plus, the scholarship numbers are going up. So that number, as the scholarships go up, the amount of money that you have to offer each kid is going to go down. So unless there's the true players out there, the real superstars, the Caleb Downs of the world, the Jeremiah Smiths of the world, there's not going to be a lot of post or outside of the structured salary cap opportunity for these kids. So right now you see a lot of schools trying to front load contracts, and USC, for example, I'm just going to throw their name out there. They have 27 commitments right now in the class of 2026, and the country's #1 class. But a lot of that and a lot of those early commitments have been predicated on deals that are promises, and those promises now mean virtually nothing, because the clearinghouse, the Deloitte clearinghouse, the NIL Go clearinghouse, whatever you want to call it, is going to have to approve every NIL deal over $600. And at some juncture, you're going to find that clearinghouse is just not going to agree that a player showing up for a 5-minute meeting at a bank downtown is worth $1 million. So there's going to be some changes, and you're going to see, I think, a really interesting couple of months ahead on the recruiting front for the teams that have been trying to front load these deals in order to gain early commitments, hoping that they'd be able to do that and lock these in and get these kids signed to contracts with the different collectives before this came into effect. And here we go. Now it's ready to rock and roll on June 1 or July 1, and we're going to see some real interesting months ahead.
Well, Tyvis, that leads me to my next question here. You hear Berm talk about NIL Go, which, first of all, is just an amazing name. Do you like that institute that they put in place, the idea that you've got to go through a clearinghouse, anything over $600? Do you think that at least kind of puts a wrap on people just giving money to these college athletes and claiming that it was for an appearance or claiming it was for this, that, or the other?
I definitely think it does put a wrap on those things. However, I am always been the person that I want the athletes to get as much money as they possibly can. So I don't necessarily like it, but I do understand that it does even the playing field just a tad bit more, because some of the NIL deals, they were ridiculous. And as me being a former player, I might have been a little bit jealous, but I was happy to see these guys being able to earn that money. But now, Burn's right. You can't go down there for an hour and get paid $1 million for just going to a spot, So I think that's fair. And it's going to be something that is going to take some adjusting. A lot of these players are not going to be too happy with it, because I'm sure a lot of them was getting some nice coin off of just doing minimum things. But now it's making these guys earn some of that money. And, I guess I like that type of meritocracy.
Yeah, and if I could just jump in, guys, what you're going to find here is that this is just going to open up the next wave of lawsuits, because there is still going to be the same problems that we've already had over the last few years, which is who's to say what a player's value is. If a company wants to pay it, then that is their market value. So having a clearinghouse, I think I saw a statistic that Deloitte had run some audits on some previous NIL deals, and they found that 90% of the deals with local companies, smaller deals, individual private deals, would have been approved under this new system that they're developing, and that 70% of the contracts and deals signed with school collectives would have been declined. That is a huge number. It is going to completely structure and restructure the way that these schools are trying to figure out these contracts. But ultimately, it's probably all going to end up back in court, because there is going to be a large number of lawyers saying that people are being, unnecessarily and unjustly prevented from making an income that they could make.
Well, that's kind of what leads me to my next question. Berm, I'll stay with you. As you just touched on, who's to say that $1 million isn't worth an appearance at a different company, or to say that $5 million isn't worth it for a company to have someone do a car commercial? At this world of NIL, how quickly do you think we're going to run into our next group of problems? Because it feels like around every turn, when we start to solve things, the next thing unravels. How quickly, and do you see this working for any amount of time here?
I mean, the first iteration of any new system is going to end up getting changed. There's going to end up being adjustments made. It really is to me, is all about this College Sports Commission. However, soon that gets up and going. I know that it is apparently up and running right now, but I don't think we've seen anything in terms of it showing its teeth. So we'll find out how quickly they are up to speed, and then what type of enforcement they want to get, because the next wave of lawsuits, et cetera, isn't going to come until somebody tries to deny something. So we'll see exactly if it's a lot of bark or if they're really actually willing to bite. And I'm not sure really which way that goes, but I know that the big schools, the Power 5 school, Power 4 schools, the creme de la creme are going to find a way to get the players that they want, because they always have. You got to remember, 5 years ago, it was illegal to pay players, and yet a lot of players still made a whole lot of money playing college football. So it doesn't really matter ultimately. What's legal is what's legal, and the schools that are wanting to find a way around it are going to, and we know that's going to happen because we have, 50 years of evidence or longer supporting that is the case.
All right, Tyvis, I want to get your thoughts on this. You are a former player. How would you feel if somebody offered you $1 million and then a clearinghouse said you can't take that money? Sorry, we don't agree with that. And do you think that this is going to run into lawsuits and another million problems down the road?
Yes. If somebody offered me $1 million and the clearinghouse told me I couldn't get it because that's too much money, I would be very upset. I understand that the times have changed, especially back when I was playing. Like we got nothing, $0. So somebody offered me $1 million. That's life-changing money. And also, they need to be very worried about what somebody can and cannot make, for the simple fact that, some of these kids might not make it professionally. They might not get to go to the NFL. So this might be the peak of the money that they're allowed to make. So they need to allow these kids to make as much as they possibly can. So I agree. I think there's lawsuits is definitely going to come in at some point. I guess you have to come up with some type of government, somebody that comes up with a set of rules, that has a board that's going to oversee all of college football and make sure that everybody's obliged by or applied to they're using these rules fairly. And I think that's the only way that this is going to work, because I think Berm is right. There's going to be other schools that's going to find, ways, cracks in it, and to find a way to be able to get the players that they want. You have to have somebody that's on top of all of this, that can hold everybody accountable.
And in the meantime, we're going to be living in the semantics world on both sides of this. The NIL Go people, the Deloitte people are going to go out of their way to make sure that they are not setting any sort of perceived market value or using that sort of terminology in order to prevent these things from going to court. And on the other side, you're going to find ways for collectives, for these local businesses to work together in order to skirt whatever new rules come into place, because everyone's just going to look for that gray area and they're eventually going to find it, and we'll settle back into the next thing of what do you have to change. But it's good. Ryan Day has been calling and begging basically for guidelines for the last couple of years. We've seen Kirby Smart doing the same thing. We've seen Dabo Swinney doing the same thing. And as the 3 national championship winning college coaches that are actually coaching in college football right now, those 3 guys going out there and publicly stating that something has to change, I think that carries a lot of weight. We'll see how quickly the schools like Miami, USC, Oregon that are desperate to get back to national relevance, how quickly they find those gray areas and those loopholes, because I guarantee you they're looking for them already.
Well, this has been great, gentlemen. I got to agree with you there, Berm, that Ryan Day wanted answers. We all wanted answers. Tyvis, I'm sorry you don't get a cut of the check. Only goes back to 2016. But who knows? There'll be another lawsuit
don't bring it up.
Yeah, there'll be another lawsuit in just a little bit of time, I'm sure. But this is where we are.
I'll be front line for it.
All right, sounds good. Thank you, gentlemen. You can hear him, T-Bone and Tyvis, 97.1, The Fan, every morning. And then the Austin and Berm Show. You can find that on 10 TV+. 2 of the best in the business. We will be right back.